Hey guys, DPG here, and the assessment of method and new American acting techniques continues. I just wanted to talk a little bit about Stella Adler and how she is different from Sanford Meisner and Lee Strasberg, because those three really were the seeds of the modern American acting movement, aka the method. And Stella Adler, I think, famously said that if you have to think about your dead mother to do acting, that is psychotic and damaging. And I'm paraphrasing, because that's more or less how Lee Strasberg at least began teaching, is using sense memory and then substituting it. And so Stella Adler, she really believed in being extremely observational and disciplined, and basically treating acting almost like the only thing. And again, people probably will argue with me about that, but basically making it your life. So everything you do is done with an eye on how it can be brought into your acting. So careful observation of your surroundings, of people, of behavior, just really, really paying attention to your environment and not sort of casually sort of skipping through life. And, you know, I guess the idea being that if you really pay close attention, that you will have more ability to create the reality of an imaginary situation, because you've sort of got this database of stuff. So, and again, I'm probably doing a very poor job of explaining it, but essentially it still was rooted in Constantin Stanislavski's work from Russia, which she observed with Sanford Meisner and Lee Strasberg. Okay, so the three of them basically saw the same thing, and then they all got their own interpretations and eventually split apart after forming the group theater together. Again, I think that's right. And so here's what I think, again, are the inherent flaws with this approach is no matter what you do, if it's based on, you know, trying to create something artificial and then bringing it to life spontaneously, it's going to fall woefully short. And it also overcomplicates what acting really is, which, you know, I think Meisner coined the term, but acting truthfully in imaginary circumstances. I mean, I really do think that sums up what every actor, no matter what their training is trying to do. They're trying to create what looks like reality based on something that is not reality. It's something that was written down and imagined by somebody else. So Stella Adler, for all her success and her successful students, again, I think suffers from the same problem that Strasberg and everybody else from that era suffered from. And that is, when they got that material, there was no such thing, or very little, in the way of broadcasting and filmmaking compared to what it is today. The play was still incredibly important, and it was maybe proportionally much greater in importance than plays, live theater is today. And live theater really was a laboratory. You know, they all worked together, the actors with the writers, and, you know, these people kind of lived a bit of a fantasy world and life together that most actors are not privy to. You know, I mean, there are still groups that get together and they do all this stuff. They write, they direct, they act, they do it all, right? And Lee Strasberg was quite a successful actor. You probably remember him from the movie, I don't know if it was The Godfather 1 or maybe The Godfather 2, but he played you know, the Jewish gangster whose name escapes me, but he, you know, he sort of was the guy who ran Cuba, and who Pacino was negotiating with. I think it was Godfather 2. So anyway, they used to do all that stuff, and most of us as actors, and maybe this is our own flaw, that we don't collaborate to the extent, we don't make acting our lives to the extent that these people did. And obviously, listen, if you make anything your life, you're going to get really good at it, and you're going to see things in ways that you would not normally see if you're just trying to learn something from somebody else and not offering any of your own input into what you think of what these people are saying. So, that kind of completes my trilogy of videos on Sanford Meisner, Lee Strasberg, and Stella Adler. Other people came along like Uta Hagen, Michael Chekhov, who was Constantin Stanislavski's nephew. He was a big playwright, and he created his own sort of system of acting. And so did guys like David Mamet with, William Macy, just sort of piggybacking off of what Stanislavski had originally done, that was then done by, the three probably most famous acting teachers. And it continues on to this day. Sadly, what is missing now is somebody creating techniques, right? The creation part is kind of dead to a large extent. And, a lot of people are just relying on old methods without even questioning them. I mean, that to me is insanity. Okay, if you want to know what the definition of insanity is, people go doing the same thing over and over. That's just what, expecting a different result. That's just what, that was a quote from Albert Einstein. It's not the actual definition of insanity. For me, the definition of insanity is to do what somebody else tells you to do without understanding it fully and without asking yourself if you can do better. It's blindly following people without knowing where they're taking you and literally living their idea of what life should be. Okay, that is insanity, because you have full ability to do whatever you want, to think however you want, to create your own system, or to behave within your own parameters of what works for you and your brain and your physicality and your appearance and all that stuff. So you're freaking insane if you just listen blindly to what somebody else says just because Al Pacino theoretically does it. And who knows what Al Pacino or anybody else does in reality. Just because they studied a certain type of training does not mean that's what they are still doing. Okay? They have probably incorporated, and I know Al Pacino, based on things he said, doesn't just stick rigidly to some system of acting, whether it's Lee Strasberg or anybody else. They are just using his name to promote their own schools and schools of thought. Okay, so listen, until you speak to somebody, don't assume you really know what they're doing. And even if you know what they're doing, don't assume it's going to work for you. Find your own path, find your own route in everything, okay? I'm sorry, but you need to take the reins, take responsibility for yourself, because you have the power to do it. And if you're not getting the results that you're looking for, you have no one really to blame other than yourself. So, pony up and say, all right, what do I want and what do I see as the things I need to get it, and test out your theory. And if you're wrong, make adjustments and try again, and continually make adjustments and continually test out your adjustments, and you will get so far in life, I can guarantee it. But you will not get very far in life until you take a leadership role for yourself, right? As long as you are a follower, you are extremely limited in what you can accomplish, because once you get to a certain level of success, there's no one to follow anymore, okay? Then you're like, oh, I am the leader, but I don't lead, I follow. So it's a problem. All right, guys, that's it. Let me know what you guys think. Again, I'm just going to keep repeating this. What I get most out of this is people getting something out of it. So if you got something out of this, please let me know, right? Give me a kernel, a hint that I'm on the right track, that I'm helping you in some way find your path, whatever your path turns out to be. I would ask you to consider the fact that, going after acting jobs and all that is fine, but it's very specific. And if you sort of hitch your wagon, especially your emotional and spiritual wagon, to whether somebody else decides you're right for acting roles, you're in for, a rude awakening, because you don't have any control over that. So what I suggest you try and get out of all the stuff we're talking about is, whether you're growing as a human being, whether you're coming up with new and better ways to share what you have with the world, and discovering what you have and understanding it and appreciating it and recognizing that you in and of yourself are worth sharing with the world, whether it's just by talking to people, or whether it's through all the digital media and streaming service abilities that we now have, whether it's through a TV show or through written work, whether it's a podcast or putting up YouTube videos, whatever it is, that's going to give you some satisfaction in life, is sharing what you have to offer, and not getting, the accoutrement like trophies and statues and stupid swag bags. I mean, that stuff is all basically sickening, and it's sickening in a way just to want those things, because you're going to get it and you're going to go, it's sort of like shopping online, right? You buy a bunch of stuff and you're like, now that I've got it, I don't even know why I want it. I wanted it when I saw it, only for the reason that I didn't have it. Now that I have it, I wished I didn't, right? Isn't that the case with most of the stuff that you buy that you really don't need? I don't know. I know that's a big thing for me. So what really gives me a sense of accomplishment and a sense of purpose is to think about what I do have to offer and trying to offer it. And that's why I'm doing this. So let me know if it's landing with any impact on you, and let me know what you choose to make out of it. All right? I will talk to you soon.